Right. So far what we did is we created hierarchies on our multidimensional models. So as I said, in a multidimensional model, so you have the facts and you have the dimensions, and the hierarchies are always created on the dimensions. So why? Because we drill down the facts with respect to the dimensions. In the sense, I have a fact which is a revenue where I drill down with respect to my either of the dimension. So for that, I need to create a hierarchy. So I've created hierarchies for all the dimensions that I have. So that's kind of a mandatory. It's not, when I say mandatory, it's not like, if you don't create, it will give you an error. It won't give you an error. But again, more or less, creating the hierarchies is a very normal task in multidimensional modeling. So you will have the hierarchies for every dimension. That's something that we need to create, because hierarchies will create, it's kind of, I mean, if you understand, sometimes hierarchies makes your job much easier from the perspective of the business. Suppose, say, assuming that at this point of time I may have only, like, four. So within my product I may have only, like, four attributes. So sometimes, I may have like 20, 30. Okay, so in those situations, the hierarchies will help you. So now, rather than have so much information in products, what is required, what is not required, so there is a lot of confusion what to see. So when you create the hierarchy, right, so even though I have 20 items here, I'm defining what comes first and what comes next. So, like, I define, like, what is required for me in 4 5 line items. Suppose though I have the 20 kind of attributes or elements that is available as part of my logical table, uh, having 20 logical columns available as part of my logical table. So what is that I'm worrying about, or what is that I'm really caring about? One, two, three, four, probably, no, four columns. So irrespective of how big is your dimension, so usually dimensions are very big. When I say big, dimension tables are big. Why? Because within the dimension tables, by nature of the data warehousing, by nature of the multi-dimensional modeling, your dimensions always are huge, in the sense, in terms of the number of columns and the rows as well. Because so dimension modeling is, which is nothing but, we also call it as the other name, which is denormalized model. When I say denormalized, normalized is basically, you have a big table, you split your big table into multiple smaller tables. See, these are the things that you need to spend little time and understand more about, so probably, when you get some free time, try to understand what is a normalization and what is a denormalization. Okay, so just to give you heads up, normalization, I think I don't know if I've already discussed this. Normalization is, you have the big table in general, where in an operational system, or in our day-to-day operations. So what we actually do is, in a day-to-day, I mean, if I need to build a system for my operational system, so which is nothing but our day-to-day transactions, OLTP system, like, whether it could be a bank system, or it could be a retail system, it could be any system that we are actually using for our day-to-day transactions. Our applications are using this table for day-to-day transactions, where I always try to see that, this table is in normalized way. What is this normalized? So when I say normalized, so within the normalization there is a lot of things called, first normal form. From the interview perspective, this kind of, I mean, they may ask this: what was this normalization? What is denormalization? Explain this. So these are the questions that you can expect. So just be prepared what these are. So data warehouse concepts. So just try to get some idea. Third normal form. I think fourth normal form. I don't remember. Something like boys code, which is like a fifth normal form or something. So, what exactly these normal forms are? Basically, these normal forms will, it's kind of, the perfection level. So this is a level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3, this is level 4, level 5. In the sense, if I have a table where I run the table through these principles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so which means, so maybe the one says like, you have to have the keys available. Second says, there shouldn't be any redundant data. Third normal form says like, so kind of, the more you go in depth, the more number of tables it will create. So it's kind of, perfection to the design, so that, you are making sure that there is nowhere you are creating redundant data or duplicate data or inconsistent data. So it's kind of, suppose you take a bank. When I take a bank, right? So I have to be very careful when I am storing my information, because suppose when my customer withdraw money from the account, so from every aspect, should see that, he has withdrawn the money. I mean, so the balance has to be the same for everywhere. Suppose say I have my balance, say £1,000. I don't know, say $1,000. Okay, when I have $1,000 in my account, so now I withdraw the money. It is $500. But again, out of 4 applications, 2 applications are seeing as a $500, and other 2 applications are seeing as $1,000. Then there is a lot of inconsistency, because there is some issue within your design or within your data model, where if you change the value of your balance in one place, the rest of the applications are not actually seeing it, because you are storing the information in too many places. Right? So those kind of inconsistencies will cause a lot of problem, because you keep withdrawing the money from your account, and you go to some other place and you do the transactions, and you still have the £1,000 as your balance, and you keep enjoying the kind of services. So by the time they realize, like, the bank, you get bankrupted, right? So normalization form is basically you split one bigger table into multiple smaller tables. Now, say I split this table into 3 tables, assuming now this table could be split into further 2 tables or 1 table. So it's kind of, we split one table. Suppose if it is a product, for an example, so I can take down this product, or I can kind of split this product into multiple smaller tables. It could be a product table, or it could be a product information table, it could be a product category table. Within that product category table, you may have like, brand table, you may have some other table. So one product table is actually split into multiple smaller tables. Suppose say this itself is a product table. I can call it as a product information table, and I can call it as, product category table. So within the category table, I may have like, subcategory table, or I may have brand table. Okay, probably within my subcategory, I may have 2 more tables or 3 more tables. So where we split these tables into multiple smaller tables. But again, we are splitting it in a way that, you can join these tables. So if you want to join, you can join these tables by using these kind of, relationships. So you have to follow this path and link and get the data if I want to get this combination. So that's kind of, I see that the tables are somehow linked, so that you don't miss the information. Suppose if I have to get this information from here, from this table, so I have to have a channel to run through from here to here. So that's kind of a relationship that we maintain, so that though the number of tables are many, but we still be able to pull the information from these tables by joining these tables. So the main concept that comes in these tables is a join. But again, join is like very expensive in SQL. When I say expensive, like it takes a lot of time. So if I have 20 tables, like I have to join all these tables and get the relevant data information. So that is going to take a lot of time, especially when you are dealing with the loads of records. So in operational system, you always deal with a single record most of the time. What does it mean? Suppose you go and um, run. Suppose you go and withdraw the money from your ATM. So most of the cases, it's a one single transaction, right? You go and withdraw the money. So it's a one transaction that happens on your database where probably there is a table updated with the amount. Okay, so you're simply pulling my record which is having a balance, and you probably know you're updating that. So maybe there is one select, one update. So it's kind of a very simple. But if I run a report, so it's not one single transaction, right? Which is not a single record. If I run a report like a sales for last 1 year, now when I say sales for last 1 year, if my process has to get the data from all these tables of a million records, so imagine how long it's going to take. So suppose if one record takes 1 second, in general 1 second is very good, because when I go to the bank and when I withdraw the money, if it's taking 1 second to process, 1 second is good. I mean, I'm happy. But if I have a million records, imagine kind of running through the million records. So it takes a lot of time, right? So that's the reason in a multi-dimensional model, what we do is we consolidate this table. So we consolidate this table. We consolidate this smaller set of tables, and we create this as a one single big table. So combine all these tables, merge all this table into one single big table. So few columns from here, few columns from here, few columns from here, everything will get all this table, and we create it as a one single table, which I call it as denormalized. Denormalized means opposite to the normalized. So where I can create a one single big table, which is a kind of a merged table with the combination of all these tables. So columns from everywhere. Okay, one big table. Why? Because if I have one big table, the query is simple, because the data is always in one place. So that's kind of denormalized. But again, you may have some redundant data, or you may have some thing. But again, so in reporting, we don't really bother about a lot of consistency stuff and performance stuff. I mean, yes, we bother about performance, but again, this is the one that improves the performance. Though you may have the data in one single big table, it's easy for you to get the data, keeping the number of records or volume of the records in mind. So by nature, I mean, it's always, there is no good and bad. So this is good in its own way. Normalize is good in its own way when you are actually using for the operational systems. As I said, here consistency is very important, because you're dealing with the customers. Here, more than the consistency, performance is important, because we are dealing with the number of records, like a huge number of records. So if I go back here, my dimension is always huge. So suppose if it's my product, imagine I may have a lot of columns here. I may have 20 tables where my product is split into, or 10 tables where my product is split into. So when I combine these 20 tables and create a one single big table, so probably if you take an average of 6-7 columns per table, so I may have a table of 50 columns or 60 columns, right? So dimensions are huge, but out of 60-70 columns, my hierarchy will help you to navigate in a simpler way. So I may have 60 columns, but I'm using like 4 or 5 columns where I'm defining my levels and hierarchy within my hierarchy, and I'm simply drilling down from one level to the other level in a easier way, right? Now, I mean that's kind of the advantage of hierarchy. So it's kind of more or less you have to have the hierarchies for every dimension. Okay, so now so far what we did is we created hierarchies for all our dimensions. And if you look at here within any dimension, suppose say I have my year, half year, quarter, month, week. So the time dimension is something that I can also create um, one more level here. So I mean within the hierarchy I can create multiple hierarchies, but you need to remember something. So the question may be like suppose if I have a product, can I create more hierarchies within the product? No, there has to be only one hierarchy. In the sense, suppose if I right click on my product, I don't even see the hierarchy creation option here because I already have a hierarchy defined. Suppose in general, if you have any dimension which does not have any hierarchy, it is a fact you don't create the hierarchies on fact. Remember, that's the thumb rule. Hierarchies you cannot create on the fact table because they're not meant for the facts. They are only meant for the dimensions, because dimensions with descriptive information which needs to be drilled down with respect to the fact. A few things that you need to keep in your mind. So, and you have to reason yourself why is that. Okay, so suppose tomorrow in an interview, like they ask you why there is no hierarchies defined on the fact. So I mean, see, it's a very basic thing with very conceptual thing. So you should be able to confidently convince. Not you don't even need to convince. You need to talk to him in a way that that's by nature. So that's by nature in a multidimensional model. Facts are the kind of a table which are normalized tables, which will have only information that we would like to analyze. So that is not a descriptive information. That is a numerical information which you do not actually drill down as the levels. So but by nature my dimensions are a kind of descriptive information where I can link that information from one level to the other level, where I correlate the dimension with respect to the business, and I organize the data to be in a drill down fashion. So that's kind of you have to fundamental things you have to explain them. Okay, so now, but again, so what if we would need to have more than one hierarchy? There are certain situations like I may need to have more than one drill paths or something. So if you see here, you can define it here, but again, it will automatically create more than one hierarchy. Suppose say for time dimension, I would like to create 2 hierarchies. Why do I really need to create 2 hierarchies? If I look at my information, suppose I have two different types of information available here, where there is this is my per name year, per name quarter, week, something, right? So this is my calendar year. So per name year, per name half, per name month, per name quarter. So this is my calendar year. So the other one, which is a fiscal, which is a financial year. Okay, so when I say financial year and the calendar year, these two are obviously they hold the data differently. So which means you capture the data for the different purposes here, right? But I mean, say I may probably I create a hierarchy on say the calendar year. So probably I may want to create the hierarchy on the fiscal year as well, right? Because problem my user may want to drill down at the fiscal level, not in the calendar level. Okay. Now, if I need to build the hierarchy for the financial, so what I need to do is I need to create another hierarchy which is for the fiscal. But again, by nature, if I want to define a new hierarchy, it doesn't allow me. I don't have an option where I can create a new hierarchy. right? So what I need to do is within the same hierarchy, I can create multiple hierarchies. Suppose say I may have a year, right? So this is my uh, say financial year. So within the total, I may have one more level where within that level I can drill down, right? Suppose say new child level, right? So what is it I would like to do? I would like to create a fiscal year, right? So now see, I'm building another level in parallel to the fiscal year. But remember, um, at the design time, the total should be a common level. So which means the total level and the detail level has to be common for both of these. Then only it will work. So I'll explain you how it works. So now, obviously, my year and my financial year both are part of my total level. Suppose say now I'm gonna build my hierarchy for my financial year. So I'm in financial year. Then what next? Goes to the financial half and financial quarter. Okay. 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 Year, financial half, financial quarter. And I mean, name could be anything. It doesn't matter like what name you give it here, right? So this is your financial. So there's now what is that I have two hierarchies within my total. One is a um, calendar year. This is the one, and this is the financial year. Okay. Now there's one more thing that I need to do is I need to have the detail level, common detail level. So I can copy this detail level here from here, and I go here and I say paste, which means the detail level has to be common in both the places. So now suppose if I don't need these, I can get rid of these things. Okay, I think then I got the detail. So now, yeah, I need to use these columns here so I don't really delete them. Say fiscal year. What happened to my detail? I cannot messed it up. Right, so, okay, now assuming that you messed it up. So now what do you need to do? I mean, so suppose you're in online mode, right? If you think like, there's nothing control Z, you can, it's not a Windows MS Word where you get to simply do a control Z. You cannot do it here. Um, so there's multiple ways you try to fix it if you can fix it. Where now you copy this, say, where is my fiscal quarter? There's no quarter, right? There is. Okay, so two ways. One, you try to fix it if you can by arranging the columns or copy pasting the detail level from here to here and all. If you think like you messed it up, so you can go to the file and say undo all changes. So which means in an online mode, when you open the repository, so visit all these star marks, right? The fire marks. Okay, so these are all kind of tick marks. These are all, say, the fire marks in a brown color, or I can say highlighted. This is the new things. When you create something new, you get it in this color, and this is the tick marks or something that you modified. Okay, so now what will happen is, so when the last changes, right? Suppose when I open the repository for the change, it's in a normal mode, right? You don't see all these green colors and all, because when you start modifying your repository, the administration tool keeps track of the changes that you are doing on the repository, right? So with these kind of tick marks and all, so which means when you check in, which means when you commit, it knows, rather than committing everything, it only commits the changes, right? So it identifies what you have done and commits those changes. Suppose say that's a kind of commit when checkout. So you open and modify, check in, you commit. But again, I also have an option, undo all changes. So which means it will take it back to the kind of previous state where, without these changes. If I say, when I say undo all changes, repository modified, please confirm that you want to undo and lose all your changes. Yes. So which means it will open the repository with the last check-in details, because these changes are not committed. So if I look at here, I still don't have any issue. So it's kind of it has gone back to the previous state. So probably um, month, week, year, quarter, half, or added this here, right? So I'll add them first here. Okay, now suppose now say I've done this change. If I say check-in, right, I've done the change and I committed, and now if I want to undo the change, I cannot undo. I don't even have an option of undo, because I've checked out, I modified some changes, I committed the changes. The moment you commit the changes, you cannot undo. But if I don't commit the changes and keep doing the changes, at some point of time you realize that you lost the track and you messed up something. Now you can undo the changes, so it will take you back to the actual previous state, last committed state. What is the last committed state? Now this is the committed state, right, where I've committed everything, right? So sometimes when you're doing the changes, right, if you think like your changes are good to go, and you commit it, so that way when you mess up something, you don't really need to start from the beginning again. Okay. Now, so what I would like to do is I would like to create a new level here, which is my child level, which is my uh, yeah, which is my financial year. Within my financial year, I would like to create one more child level. I shall have financial quarter. Okay, now I have my this level. So now what is that I need to do is I need to move my data to this level. Suppose fiscal year, this is my level. So these columns, like I also need to provide what is that information that I am actually going to analyze as part of my financial year and the financial half, financial quarter, and financial week. Okay. So now say I'm going to check in for, see, at this point of time when I check in, it is not consistent because I just added the columns. There's many other things that I need to do. Even if it's a consistency, it will give, say, it says it's not inconsistent. Why? Because, I just added the columns. I have not really defined the keys here. And suppose if I say, it gives you, see what is the error? Logical dimension, multiple leaf levels, which is not identical. So it will give you those kind of, so a couple of warnings. So your repository is not actually done well. Okay, so I said I don't want to do any consistency. Oh man. Uh, right, so okay. So now I have defined these levels. The reason I'm doing is I just want to make sure, you know. I did a mistake. Okay, the year has to be part of, you know, your total, not the. It has to get refreshed. There's a problem with the online mode sometimes, you know. It doesn't really. Uh, I mean, see, the purpose of the online mode is, you know, do small changes. It's not like, you know, do these kind of major changes. You don't really do this. So in you do it in offline mode itself. You simply do the changes in offline mode. So in online mode, you know, you do the simple changes. So sometimes if you do too many changes, uh, kind of where it has to commit to the live repository, it give you the transaction error kind of stuff. So where, you know, your changes are it's not able to commit your changes. So these kind of changes you usually big changes you usually do in offline mode, so that, you know, it's not actually dealing with the live repository. So it has its own flexibility. I have to create it here in the fiscal year. So now I can say fiscal quarter. Right, so now let's say fiscal year. I'll move it here. As a fiscal half, fiscal quarter, fiscal month, fiscal week. So check in. It's not actually identifying the chain. Okay, so I copy paste my detail level from here to here. So the total and detail level has to be common for these two. So there is a total level. There is a, for every individual hierarchy there is a detail level. So now I'm going to define my key. There is the key. For the half, I'm going to define this column as the key. For quarter, I'm going to define this column as the key. For month, I'm going to define this column as the key. For week, I'm going to define this column as the key, assuming. So now I'm kind of done, say check-in. Okay, so it's consistent now. So if we look at here, I have the total. Within the total, I have the year and I have the fiscal year. So if you see here, within the year, I have this trade loan option, but again, I have to have my time detail in both. So for this hierarchy and this hierarchy, the detail has to be common. So whatever the kind of detail that you have, right, you have to use both the detail. So they're under the same total, but detail also is the same. So which means where you start where you end is the same, but in between you look at the different information. Now what happens if I use the same? So now set time, right? So I'm going to get rid of this time here. And so when I actually, so sorry, when I actually drag my time here to here, I can also put it here, assuming. So now if I drag and drop my time hierarchy here, time dimension here, so it creates two hierarchies for me. See, it has created two hierarchies, so two individual hierarchies for me. Suppose let me check in. It has created two individual hierarchies for me. One is a year hierarchy, other is a fiscal hierarchy. So this is again, it is having its own total uh, own set. Right? It also is having its own set total, but again the design time is a common total and the common detail. But again, when you go to the when it's actually talking about displaying it to the user, it will totally define as a two different hierarchies. So in the design time, you don't need to really build multiple hierarchies. It's under one hierarchy. You create the different threads, right? But again, when you actually use them, we can, when you drag and drop, it will create the multiple hierarchies. Suppose if I add one more here, then I can have one more, so it will create one more. So it's kind of, I can add as many as hierarchies. But the thing is, in the design time, in the multi-dimensional model, there is a one single hierarchy that we define on our dimension, and we add the different levels. So one level under kind of, I can have multiple child levels, or I can have the same kind of multiple levels at the same node level. So I can define those things, but in the runtime it will take care of creating the multiple hierarchies that is required for you. Okay, this is one of the additional concept that we can use, where you can build the multiple hierarchies. So these kind of things that they may touch base with you, like can I create more than one hierarchy on dimension? No. But again, so if I have the requirement, where I need to so I say that my dimension is having multiple paths, year and the calendar year and the fiscal year. So how do you achieve that? So you have to explain, on one level I can create multiple leaf nodes at the same level. So total is my level. Under my total I have a leaf which is year as well as a fiscal. They're on the same level, and I can define my child nodes under the same leaf node. Fiscal year I have one set, and under the financial year, under the calendar year I have another set, which I run through the different levels. But again, for these levels, the detail level has to be common. So there's a common total level and a common detail level. So we define that way in the development. But again, when you actually use this dimension in our presentation layer, so my OBIEE will automatically define them as the two individual hierarchies for the display purpose. That's kind of things you can explain. So you question yourself, am I in a situation to explain something that I have learned? That's very important. What you talk is very, very important. What that's that's another question. What you talk is important. So you may have a lot of things running in your mind, but if you cannot really put those things as words and explain to somebody, they don't know it, right? So probably first of all, you question yourself, like, what do you know? So you have to question yourself, and you need to answer that question. Suppose you have to kind of a preparation. I say, for everything that you're learning, so you need to think okay, if they ask this question, what do you explain? Suppose if they ask what is a multi-dimensional model? So what is the answer that I give? That's very important, because maybe they ask the same question tomorrow. So if you cannot answer now, probably tomorrow also you may not answer, right? So yeah, it's not that you don't know it, but you have to put it in the right way, or you have to kind of correct yourself, and you have to define the pattern, where you start, where you end. So when you talk about a multi-dimensional model, so the information flow has to be within a good stream, rather you randomly jumping here and there and explaining with a lot of confusion and say that no, yeah, this is the one, no, this is not the one, and we do that first and then you come back, okay, now this could be first, this second, so you confuse yourself and confuse the other person. Rather than doing that, you answer questions first yourself, in the sense, you probably know, you take a pen and paper, okay, and you note down like what you know. Suppose if they ask multidimensional model, okay, this is something that I'm going to explain to him. This is something that I'm going to talk to him. So you answer yourself, and you make it points. So you take it as a theory. I mean, it's not, you don't need to really by heart anything, and if you by heart, you cannot really perform. That's one thing that you need to remember. So you put your understanding as a point. So okay, this is the one. Okay, so multidimensional model. Okay, it's a model which we use for the OLAP systems. So OLAP systems require a multidimensional model because it is provided with certain features where the reporting will be much efficient. That's one point. Okay, within the multidimensional model, you have the fact and dimension, where the fact will have the numerical information and the dimension will have the descriptive information. Okay, second thing, done. Third, so in the fact table, we create multiple measures or calculations that is required for the entire reporting requirement, whereas we use the same measures in our reports. Then third one, fourth, in the dimensions, basically dimension tables are your denormalized tables where you have a lot of information available. But again, we'll only kind of consider the information that is required for us to analyze and drill down. That's the reason on dimensional models we'll create the hierarchies. Okay, so within the hierarchies we create the multiple levels and we analyze the data based on those levels. See, 5-6 steps sequentially, systematically, you answer the same thing. Perfect. So the other person, what you're defining is he's understanding. Now when they ask the multidimensional model, you start from multidimensional model. Okay, we define the hierarchies on multidimensional models. Okay, no, and again, one more thing, multidimensional models, we have the fact tables and the dimension tables. No, basically you started at the end and you're coming to the beginning and you're going in between. So you define the flow. So that way, the other person is very much in line with what you are speaking. Right? So this is basically where you define the multiple levels. So now if I go back to my another dimension, suppose if I look at my products, so in a hierarchy, it's always drill down. I mean, in the sense, when I say drill down, you drill down from brand to the line of business to the type to the detail. If you remember the yesterday, so if I create a simple hierarchy, I think we defined the hierarchy yesterday, right? Say office hierarchy. So I have the total, and from the total I go to the, I go to the company level. Within the company, we go to the organization level. Within the organization, we can go to the department level. It's from one level to the other level where we navigate. Okay, that's how the hierarchies are defined. So it's always kind of drill down, where you go from this level to this level. So there are certain times, see, again, there is a little confusion that comes here, which you need to be very clear about. Okay, there is an overlap between the 10G and the 11G. There are certain features are available or built within the 10G, and again, they are not relevant to the 11G. So probably you cannot see them if you define the hierarchy in the 11G way, or if you use the hierarchy in 11G way. This is 11G way. Right. So now what you have everything in the same place within the same drill down, same screen you drill down. Suppose if I create a same hierarchy in a traditional approach. See, I mean, OBIEE is doing it in a way that there may be users that are migrated from the previous versions of the OBIEE, right? So they still need to able to kind of continue to using their reports after migrating, because they are defined in the older way. So now if you look at this, this is again one more level of hierarchy. So this is where you drill down from one level to the other level, unlike where you define where you drill down on the same page, right? But it's navigating to the different level. So this is one way of doing it. Now, I mean, we are talking about this. This feature, whatever this feature that I'm discussing, right? This is only relevant to this type of drill down. Suppose if I save this report, say office hierarchy, say drill down. Okay. So if I look at this report, if I go back here, if I say office hierarchy drill, so I can click on my company and company to the organization. So this is a different way. So now there are certain things that we can define here. Sorry. There's few things that I can specify here. Suppose say when I click on company, where it is going to the organization, and organization to the department, and department to the description. Now I can define my own drill path. I can define my own drill path. So how? So let's see here. So now probably it could be an officer, it could be a product, doesn't matter. So here I have I have a brand, then within the brand I have LOB, and I have the type, and I have the detail. Now if I click on the brand, now suppose it usually goes to LOB, then when I click on the LOB it goes to the type, and it go to the type, it will go to detail. Suppose what if I click on the brand, I directly want to go to the type, so I may want to skip my line of business, right? So if I double click on any level, there is something called a preferred drill path. Preferred drill path is basically what is your preferred way of drill path. Suppose what happens, where do you want to go when you click on your brand? Where do you want to go when you click on your brand? Where do you want to go when you click on your type? Where do you want to go when you click on your anything else? Right. So at any level, if you click on that particular level, what is your path? So by default, it's this normal path, whatever the hierarchy level that you define, that is the standard path. It will drill down at the same way, unless you override the default drill path. So what is the default drill path? Default drill path is the path that you defined within your hierarchy. So by default, it will drill down. But again, instead of using this default drill path, if you would like to override the default drill path and you would like to define your own drill path, so why is that? I mean, why do you really need to do those kind of drill paths? It's basically at sometimes, because of some business reasons or some reasons, I don't want to display line of business to user for now. Okay, so rather than deleting this hierarchy or creating a new hierarchy and doing all the stuff, I would like to hide this level kind of stuff. So I would like to kind of make sure that when I click on brand, it's no more goes to the LOB, it directly goes to the type. So that's where I define my preferred drill path on my brand here. So I can say brand, and I go to the drill path which is preferred drill path. I say add. Now when I say add, where do I want to go? See, it displays all the levels that is available. So where is the level that I want to go? I would like to go to my type, which means, so I still see it. I mean, I still see the LOB, I still see the same hierarchy. But again, I have added something. When I click on the brand, it has to go to the type, not the LOB. And again, as I said, when you do some changes in the hierarchy, you get rid of the hierarchy here. Probably it's it's not so dynamic, which it automatically get updated. Maybe in the latest versions they may do something, but otherwise any changes to the hierarchy, you kind of add the hierarchy to the presentation layer again. Okay, now I have added this change where I have defined the preferred drill path, but technically you have the same hierarchy level. It's not actually changing, so you're not changing your hierarchy level, but you are only changing the path, navigation path. Okay. So now if I have to do the reporting, so go and create a new analysis. So sometimes it's always better to reload just to make sure your information is here. So I can say brand and I say my revenue. So results. So this is your brand and this is your revenue. When I click on the brand, so what actually it is doing, it's actually going to the type. So it's not actually going to the, after the brand you have what, you have the LOB. There is no line of business. So though there is a line of business defined here, but when you click on brand, it is directly taking you to the type. So that is where you can skip a level when you define a drill path. So you can do other thing also. So you can start from the detail, you can navigate up to the brand level also, which means you can also do it in a reverse way. So when you go to the particular product description and the revenue, so you have all the products and you click on the detail and it will take you to the type level, and when I click on the type it will take you to the LOB level. When you click on the LOB it will take you to the brand level. So you can also do a reverse way. How? I click on the detail and in the preferred drill path what do I keep? I keep it as a type. I click on the type in the preferred drill path I keep it as what? LOB. I click on LOB, in the preferred drill path I will keep it as brand. You can do that way. So let's show you. So let me remove this preferred drill path. But again, because once you define the drill path, you cannot add more than one drill path. Click on detail. When I click on detail, where do I want to go? I want to go to my, I think it's a type. Okay, so this is my type. When I click on the type, I would like to go to where? LOB. See, if it is added once, you don't see that again, right? See, I don't see the type and LOB because they are already added to the different levels. I only see the empty ones that is not used. I go to the brand and I click on the brand. I can go to my total, product total. So I did it in a reverse way now. Okay. Any change to the hierarchy, you need to add the hierarchy again to the presentation. So I go back and reload server metadata which I refresh. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new analysis just to make sure. So product, I'm directly adding product description. I mean, I can add any column, right? It's not like I have to only add always brand. See, when I say product description in there, so now I have all the product descriptions and the revenues for all these product descriptions. Okay, it's a summary. It's a kind of always aggregation. Okay, now if I say anything, you can say now when I click on this description, where it is going to the product type. So which means this particular product is a part of my product type camera. When I click on my product type, it will go to the line of business. It's the line of business is digital. When I click on the digital, it's going to the brand fun part. Okay, this kind of one level of hierarchy. Now when I go to the maintenance, it's a part of product type maintenance. It's a part of line of business services. It's a part of product brand home view. So what you're doing, you're doing it in reverse way now. So that's how you define the hierarchy. So let's say get rid of this. Where I say add a brand here again and add revenue. Now it still have its own normal drill path. You can still continue to have the normal drill path, but if you do it in reverse way, it will. You can also define the reverse way. So it's kind of one feature that you have. But when you talk about the normal standard hierarchy of your products, that is the 11G way. If I go here, even if you skip a particular level, It doesn't matter. It doesn't really care about those things. It will display as it is what it requires to display. I cannot really skip. If say I cannot really say when you click on your brand, it directly go to the type, and that is not possible here. You have to go to the same hierarchy. It's drill down is common. You cannot really control when you click on the base tag. It directly goes to the, instead of going to the a product type, LOB, instead of going to the LOB, it cannot directly skip on to the type. So that's kind of, there's no skip level, or there's no preferred drill path that you can use in the 11G hierarchy way. So those are the features of the 10G. But again, no, you cannot see all three levels when you click on the product. It's not possible. So I mean, hierarchy is always drilled, right? So one level to the other level, one level to the other level, because I don't want to see all the information in one go. I want to see one by one. So probably, I mean, technical. To be frank, I never tried that one. So if your choice is like, if you click on brand, I want to see all these three levels. So preferred drill path, I can probably I can add more than one and see. I never tried, but again, yes, you can try. Let me see it here. So I remove these things. So I am going to get rid of the preferred drill path that I define on this brand. I have this type. I have this. Yeah, I mean, you can try these options. There's nothing wrong. Just all you're trying to do is you're trying to understand how the tool is actually responding to what you define. So I have a brand, and within the preferred drill path, I would like to add all these three levels. Say within the brand, I have the type. I would like to add LOB, detail, suppose. So check in. It's allowing, but again, I don't know what happens when you actually drag in. See, I mean, what you need to get is, you need to get this level of kind of comfort of like doing the changes and moving here and there. So kind of sometimes when you learn computers for the first time, right, you look for the very start menu, you go here and you check for the start. So you have to kind of get rid of that nature, so tomorrow when you go to the job, right, so when you're doing the things, you have to be quick enough. Sometimes you never know, your lead or your manager may be with you and you're trying to show something, and if your navigation within the repository, navigation doing the things is like you're so confused and looking for the options, and then I mean, even for you, right, you'll find like you don't know the tool, or you're not comfortable with the tool, or you're like just using the tool for as a new guy. So you get this comfort level of using the things in a quicker way. Just navigate and kind of you build the comfort of using the tool. So get familiarized with the tool as much as possible. That's in crisp. So I say brand and I say revenue. Brand. No, it's only taking the last level. So description is going to the last description level. So though you have added all of these three, but again it's going to the last level, detail level. It's simply ignoring this type and that. Yeah, I mean, you can experiment that with, see and what exactly how exactly the tool is reacting. Okay, so this is your different things, right? So there is another concept of probably level based measures. So I'll discuss with these concepts tomorrow. There is a level based measure, and there is a time series functions that is available, and there is other functions available. I'll brief you tomorrow, but again, make sure that you practice the hierarchies. That is very, very important, because the more I discuss, the more you confuse when you don't practice. because I'm just making sure that even without the practice you should be able to understand something. But there are certain things uh, unless you practice, unless you understand the previous sessions, so you may get lost unless you're very focused. Okay, so make sure that you practice so far what you have discussed within the hierarchies. Create the hierarchy yourself and do all these things that we have done so far. Okay, then then you'll find it much easier when we discuss a little bit advanced topics tomorrow. Okay. What is this? Can we manually? There are checkbox structure and so on. Can you explain what is that? What is the checkbox structure?
Yeah, and when you created manually the hierarchy on the right click on the list, actually yesterday I remember there are some few things which is
Time. Okay. This one, right? This one, right?
yeah,
Okay, we'll see. I
that
mean,
structure.
that's we'll see tomorrow when we discuss the. They are used for some reason. When we see the time series functions tomorrow, I'll explain what is this time hierarchy, what is this ragged hierarchy, what is the skip level hierarchies. So this is a different type of hierarchies we'll discuss.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any questions before we wrap it up?